Hey everybody, Dr. Wenzel, Brentwood MD. Welcome to your Secret Weapon 1.0. This is video one of a two-part video series where I'm going to be diving into what I see your two greatest secret weapons. Today is all about intermittent fasting. If you've been paying attention to me for any length of time, you know how excited I am about this topic. There literally is not a more interesting topic to me, more fascinating, and a topic that I'm more excited about moving forward than intermittent fasting, mostly because it has profound implications to impact your health and longevity, while at the same time eliminating overwhelm and adding simplicity to a topic that, let's be honest, avoids mastery by most. And that topic is diet. That topic is weight loss. Listen, every diet that you have ever heard of or thought about or read about or even tried falls under what I would call dietary restriction. I'd like to thank Dr. Peter Attia, where I'm borrowing this framework from, because he laid it out this way, and it's a very great way to think about diet at a macro level. And he basically states that there are three buckets when considering diet. There's dietary restriction, time restriction, and caloric restriction. And these are the only three levers that we have to control your overall dietary intake as it pertains to your health and wellness. And basically every diet you know of, South Beach, Atkins, Zone, Paleo, Mediterranean, etc. You fill in the blank. It's some sort of dietary restriction where you are restricting, could be low carb, could be Atkins, could be keto, and that's your focus. And you can have success by just deploying the right dietary strategy. There's also time restriction, which is what fasting falls under. Time restriction is just where you limit the feeding window to a tighter period of time so that more hours through the day than not, you are not in a fed state, you're in a fasted state. And then there's caloric restriction. This is the classic eat less, exercise more. This is just restrict your calorie intake and burn more, and therefore you will achieve every goal you ever wanted to with health as it pertains to your weight. The truth is, you need one of these being deployed at all times, or you're going to have a net gain over time. And that might just be you watch your calories, but otherwise eat a balanced diet and it works for you. It could be that you do a little bit of intermittent fasting, but otherwise don't pay attention to anything else. Or it could be that you live a general keto lifestyle or paleo lifestyle and that works for you. However, most people who need fat loss as a goal need to be putting downward pressure on two of these three. So dietary restriction with time restriction, or dietary restriction with an overall paying attention of calories. We need two of the three if our goal is active weight loss. And this is fascinating because when we look at most bang for our buck, most impactful, when we pursue intermittent fasting, we are time restricting, which right away also will reduce our caloric intake as long as we don't overindulge during our time of eating. So as long as we're relatively calorie conscious, a time restricted dietary strategy is enough for many, many people to achieve their weight loss goals. And these 3 points here are really what I would say are the biggest takeaway points for the value of intermittent fasting because of the way weight loss, fat loss actually works. Number one, when is probably greater than what. In other words, when you eat, how often you eat, the amount of hours in a 24-hour period of time that you're eating is far more important, as it turns out, than what you eat. Now, if you know me, you know what you eat is very important. I also think that when you do open your mouth, if you have any ambition for weight loss, you need to be pursuing it in some form of carb restriction strategy, because it's just too hard otherwise. But you have a lot more margin when you're only opening your mouth once or twice a day to not be perfect. And who's perfect? I'm not perfect. The other thing, and I've been talking about this for a long time, that if you have a weight problem, or some sort of fat reduction goal, that's not a calorie problem. It's a hormone problem. It's hormones, not calories, which leads me into my third bullet point, which is this is a matter of biochemistry because of its impact of the hormonal sequence, and it's not math. This is not calories in, calories out. I've been ranting on this for probably 10 years. This is not burn more than you consume. Every calorie triggers a different hormonal response downstream, therefore yielding vast different outcomes based on the hormonal environment. Your hormones are far more important than calories. That's why this is a biochemistry problem, not a math problem. Here are the benefits as I see them in intermittent fasting. Number one, it's incredibly simple. Just by eliminating breakfast in most cases, you can eliminate 33% of your decision making with meals, which prevents decision fatigue. So you can use that brain power, that energy, and that resourcefulness to do something more beneficial in your life and just not eat. Yet, despite being very simple, it's the most powerful dietary strategy I have found, and anybody can do it no matter what your preference is to eat when you decide to start eating. Number two, the fasting brain. Right now, I am going on approximately 20 hours of nothing but water and coffee. And my brain is on fire right now. There is something about being in a fasted state where you are alert, your brain fog is lifted, you have a sharp and crispness to your thinking. This is well documented, and many people pursue a fasting lifestyle who don't have any ambition for weight loss. So it's simple, it's powerful, and you get the added advantage of a fasting brain. And who couldn't use an advantage when it comes to clear thinking and reduction of overwhelm and speed? I think we all could use a little bit more of that. And number three, it improves all metabolic diseases. Metabolic diseases, I'm talking about diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, obesity, and obesogenic type diseases because of its hormonal impact and the insulin sensitivity response and the response that it's having at the level of the liver when you're fasting. It is profound, and it is incredibly, incredibly beneficial, leading back up to the most powerful strategy. And look, it's not that hard. It's really as simple as a 16-8 split daily, as many days as you can. I do it 7 days a week, and I achieve that window by essentially skipping breakfast. I eat dinner around 7 or 8. I skip breakfast, and I eat lunch around 1 or 2 p.m. I have a similar dinner than I do lunch. When I do open my mouth to eat, I tend to be in the low carb, not so much conscious of calories, not so much conscious of fat, but whole foods, 2 meals a day. And then once a week, I'm not always perfect at this. Some weeks I'm better than others, but a 24-hour fast, dinner to dinner. This has an incredible impact on your skeletal muscle glycogen, your liver glycogen stores, insulin sensitivity, and a hormonal response that will really benefit from, that you will benefit from if you can implement a 24-hour fast once a week. And listen, this is something that it took me probably the 6 to 8 month mark to be able to wrap my head around and actually believe it was possible to do a 24-hour fast. But now that I do them, they are remarkable, and the impact I've seen in my physical body, my mental and emotional and physical performance, along with other objective markers that I'm following, like fasting insulin levels, blood pressure, triglyceride to HDL ratio, some of these other ratios that I've talked a lot about as being important markers. This is the single best strategy if you did nothing else but committed to understanding intermittent fasting and what that means for you and how it looks, and get started with it. I know it will serve you well. I hope this serves you well. Let's look out for the next video where I'm going to talk about your secret weapon number 2. Take care, guys.